All right, it's been a little bit since we did a lore video, but we're not doing one on Total War Warhammer. We're doing one on the Witcher books. There's a lot of preamble to get through here, but essentially, if you're popping onto this channel because you saw the Witcher stuff and you're like, "Oh man, this is a Witcher channel," not really. This is a Total War channel. I took a break from reading Total War books to just read the Witcher series I got for Christmas, like last year, and I wanted to do that, so I took a break from just reading the same, universe all the time. I didn't think I'd make a lore video on it, and then when I read it, I had a lot to say, so here we are. But yeah, if you're interested in the Witcher channel, that's unfortunately not this. Right. Okay. So got that out of the way. Second thing. All right, second and third thing. Second thing is just a quick trigger warning for I have two preambles in case people want to click off this video. Second thing I wanted to say is a trigger warning. It depends on what culture you're coming from, how you feel about this sort of thing. In my American culture, sexual violence is not really a joke. It's kind of a joke among a certain small branch of internet people, but like general populace. And if you're listening to this podcast out loud, like not in headphones and you're in public, there are going to be some colorful situations. The book is in Polish and it was translated to English. But yeah, I'm not trying to impose my culture on everybody else and just say like, this is bad because my culture doesn't appreciate it. But most of my audience is American. So just a heads up, if that's not something you want to listen to, you're going to want to skip this one. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of sexual violence in the Witcher books. Okay. Fair warning. Third is there's a lot of people who are fans of the Witcher books. And I'm going to title this video something specific because I have problems with the Witcher books and I did not enjoy them. But before you get mad at me, I did not enjoy them. But the title of the video is going to be something along the lines of, if you watched the Netflix show and played the games, you should not read the Witcher books. And that's the background I came from. I am not saying these are bad books. That I have issues with certain parts of them that I'm going to talk about in this video because I tend to do it in kind of a entertainment style way. Lots of books make mistakes, but I'm going to say up front, these books are technically well written. They are technically well put together. The universe they build is pretty interesting. The politics are really interesting. The nation versus nation stuff is really interesting. The writing style is different than anything I've read. So like just as a literary piece, it was interesting to read and see how a different author constructs prose, right? That's all interesting. These are good books. They're better than a lot of the things I read. They are better written than a lot of Warhammer lore. So I'm not making a video to just shit on them, but I did not enjoy my time reading them. And that's what this video is going to be about. But I think that's because I watched the Netflix show and played the games, and then I wanted to go read the source material to learn about this guy. And the source material was nothing like those two. So it's weird, but I really liked Geralt in the Netflix show, and I really liked Geralt in the games, but the Netflix show is made towards an Americanized audience who's used to certain things from their hero archetypes, and the games are a role-playing game where you can make decisions. But when you read a book, it is a set piece where if you didn't make the decisions that the book Geralt would have made, you're going to be frustrated like I was because this isn't your Geralt. But your Geralt is the non-canon one, right? I acknowledge the books are the source material. The books are correct. But I went into them with a different idea of what I was going to be reading. And then there's a fourth preamble that I didn't have in my little script here because it just happened today. I read at lunch at work, 30 or 40 minutes every day. So I read the Witcher books. I got this big package of them. And they're not in a super clear order what you should read. So I saw ones labeled 1 through 5, and it's the main adventure, the main story about Ciri and Geralt. And then there's a collection of short stories, 2 of them that come before the books, but they're just short stories, so they're whatever. And then there's one that comes later that is a narrative in its own right. But I started reading the short stories now that I'm done with the mainline books, and I am 40 pages in, and these 40 pages have made me so excited to read the rest of them. So the short story is so far like The Last Wish is what I'm reading right now. That's the Geralt I was expecting. Lots of monster hunting, and he's very competent and put together and sarcastic. And he's no one's trying to say that he's a good guy. Like Geralt's like a dude you just want to hang out with. He's an asshole. Everyone knows that. But he is an extremely competent asshole. And not to compare everything to like Rick and Morty, because I feel like that's overdone, but honestly it's the reason people gravitate towards a character like Rick. He's an alcoholic, he's an asshole, he's sarcastic, he abandons his family, he's narcissist, he's all these things. But people like Rick, and people are interested in watching Rick because he's like the smartest man in the universe, and he has this complex about him that just he can take on anything, and you just kind of want to watch it happen, right? And that's the Geralt from the books that I was expecting. That is the Geralt so far in The Last Wish. That was the Geralt in the show. Like that scene in the show in the season 1 where he's holding a sword kind of all dumb and weird, but it's cool because Henry Cavill does all those sweet spin moves and kills all those guys. And, you know, he does the classic line, ah, fuck. Like that Geralt's badass. The Geralt I had in the games where I'd go into several situations where I'm getting attacked by a bunch of these little blue vampire things that come out of the water, and there's like 8 of them and one of me, and I just cut them down super easily because that's not even the thing I'm there to kill. That Geralt is not the Geralt from books 1 through 5. So this is where the video is going to start to get negative. There's all your positivity. If you enjoyed these books, that is great. They are objectively well written. You are fine to have your own opinion. I have my opinion. I'm going to explain it for the case of entertainment. This is not to attack something you like. I thought certain parts were stupid. And if you are not the type of person that can take criticism about that sort of thing, then you might want to stop watching. All the preambles are done. Time to start shitting on these books because they suck. Anyway, like I said, they don't suck, but there's problems. So I'm going to go through the plot of all 5 books as far as it pertains to just Ciri and Geralt. Nothing about the war, nothing about the mages subplot where like the Sisterhood of Mages is formed. None of that. Just as it persists to Geralt and Ciri, because on all the books 1 through 5, the back of it says like, oh, the Witcher is the baddest ass, and he's so amazing. Watch Geralt and Ciri as they save the fucking world. Okay, so the back of the book say all that stuff about Geralt and Ciri saving the fucking world. All right, let's go. Book 1, 300-page book. What happens with Ciri and Geralt? Ciri's a little girl. She trains. Geralt trains her to be a Witcher. Triss Merigold gets sick. I know that's not have to do with Geralt and Ciri just yet, but Triss Merigold gets sick. She has diarrhea, and she wants to fuck Geralt so badly, even while she has diarrhea, and he has to awkwardly say, "Oh, no thanks." All right, book 2. Oh, so book 1 barely has Ciri and Geralt doing anything. Their names are in it a lot, but like nothing progresses. Ciri's just training. Okay, sure. It's the start of a hero's journey. She's training. Fine. I'll give him a pass. Book 2, 350-page book. Ciri travels to a city, and then the Council of Mages betrayal, which we'll get into in a second. She flees. Geralt travels to find Ciri, who is in a desert. She finds the rats, bandits. That's it. Okay. Book 2, it's not great that I can sum up a 350-page book in a couple sentences, but we had some action. Clearly, there's a lot of pages about her wandering around the desert. Clearly, like a lot of stuff happened there. I'll give you that. You know, a lot of action happened, even though it's pretty easy to sum up. Book 3, Geralt continues to travel to find Ciri. Doesn't. Ciri is a bandit. Oh, well, that was another 350-page book wrapped up in a couple sentences. So then book 4 and 5 have a lot more Geralt and Ciri, but the reason I wanted to, and I'll get to those in the same format in a second, but like books 1, 2, and 3, the fact that I could sum up all that Geralt and Ciri did in a couple sentences, the books aren't about them at that point. And again, you might be into that, and I'm trying to tell you, the world building in those books are great. And like the war is really interesting, but the fact that the books kept saying, The Witcher. Anyway, he's barely in this one. The Witcher! Yeah, he's not really in this one either. The Witcher! All right, next book. Like, these aren't The Witcher, it's all the other shit besides The Witcher. And the back of the book shouldn't say, there's a prophecy for Ciri and Geralt to save the world. The back of the book should say, yeah, a bunch of other shit happens, and in the background, Geralt and Ciri kind of walk around and look at things. Like, the book happens through their eyes, so you don't get full, and that's kind of the fun part, is you don't get the full picture of events. You have to piece them together by what's presented to Geralt. And like, you get some snippets of like, okay, we're gonna follow Dijkstra over here and all this stuff, but like, most of it, you're not given a complete picture where the author just takes you aside and is like, here's everything that's happening, here's the truth right away, and you're just gonna know it all right away. That's not how it works, and that's the cool part. But the problem is when I wanted to learn more about Geralt, the character I give a shit about, you don't get that in books 1, 2, and 3 at all. Now, book 4, we get a little more. So, we'll talk more about the details. I'm just giving you an outline of what happens. So, Ciri was a bandit, right? Start of book 4, she shows up to this hermit, and she's all wounded and stuff, and you're like, okay, we're gonna get a flashback. The whole book is a flashback, by the way. Like, the whole book. So, start of the book, she meets this hermit, and then, like, every chapter starts with her talking to the hermit some more. So she talks to this hermit. So then it details her life being a bandit, and then all of her bandit friends die. And then this one weird mercenary is tracking her down for Nilfgaard, but then he instead takes her to an arena and gets her to murder some random people. And then she escapes from him, and during that escape, she got to the hermit. So then we get up to the present, and then like the last 100 pages of the book is her running towards this tower to teleport. So she just did that. And like, that's a good amount of stuff, but it took us till the 4th book to get a lot out of Ciri. Now for Geralt, again, these books aren't called Ciri. These are called The Witcher, which you would assume means Geralt. Book 2, I promise there's a reason I'm going backwards. Geralt travels to find Ciri. Book 3, Geralt continues to travel to find Ciri. Book 4, my notes on all that happened with Geralt. Geralt continues to try and find Ciri, gets captured in a small town, then captured in another, and only saved by random rebels. Geralt gets knocked out all the damn time. That's it. So Geralt, for 3 books, has been traveling to try and find Ciri. That's pretty much all he's done. So book 5... we'll start with Ciri. So book 5, the final book, and we only started to get anything about her in book 4. Ciri starts out in King Arthur world, a bit wild. Oh, that's the future. My bad. Not my bad. Like, I wrote that in the script where it's a little confusing at the start. So Ciri's in King Arthur world, and then it goes backwards. So she went through the tower in book 4, and she ends up in this elf world. And the elf world lasts barely any time at all. It's really fucked up, which we'll talk about later. And then she learns how to time travel and universe hop from a unicorn. So now she's pretty much Rick with a portal gun and a time traveler at the same time. She time travels a bunch, trying to figure out where she should be to help Geralt out. Then she turns herself into Vilgefortz, which is the bad guy. That all goes wrong. There's a final fight, and that's the end of the book. Okay, cool. Again, that is a good amount of stuff that Ciri does in that book, so the book's mostly about her. Back to Geralt. Remember, he spent 3 books just looking for her. Geralt stops looking for her and fucks around in a town for 6 months. Then he randomly happens upon a horn that tells him exactly where Ciri is. So he goes to that final fight with Vilgefortz. So the summary of what Geralt did in 5 books is trained Ciri, lost Ciri, wandered to find her, found her, final fight, book over. Wow, I learned a lot about this character I was excited to dive into. So first point I wanted to just talk about is if you're going into these books trying to learn more about Geralt and Ciri, fucking don't, because you don't learn anything about them. And now part 2 and the longer part is they also just suck. They just suck. They're terrible. And if you didn't have any preconceived notion of who these characters are, these books would read as a weird political satire and a bit of a comedy adventure where Geralt, a cranky asshole, wanders around and experiences the world, while Ciri, super crazy overpowered girl, goes from blunder to blunder on her way towards the end. But I went into it expecting like a Monster Hunter kind of gritty thriller adventure, right? A fantasy adventure maybe with an anti-hero. And that just isn't what you get. And that is just not. And I'm going to prove it with this argument here. So we went over the brief timeline of the books. I'm going to touch on some of the specific scenes where I think ruin like Geralt. Like the Geralt I thought from watching the show and playing the games, and honestly the Geralt I wanted. Geralt in the books is not a good... he's a good fighter. He's not an incredible fighter. He's not even a great fighter. He's just good. He's not the best in the series. 2 different people are shown kicking his ass. And he gets knocked out like literally 5 times. In one of the books, he gets knocked out twice. Another book, he gets knocked out twice. Another one, he gets knocked out once. So he's knocked out all the time. And he keeps getting knocked out by random shit. Like his horse knocks him out once because he was riding it and there was a branch that he didn't see coming. He just hits the branch, gets knocked out, and falls off his horse. He gets captured twice by random bandits in these books. And he didn't fight a single monster. He didn't fight a single monster until book 4? I'm looking through my notes to remember. I think, no, I see book 5. Geralt had a very small monster fight in the start of book 5. Yeah, so unless my notes are wrong, he doesn't have a single battle until book 5. And if he had one before then, it is 1. I would have noticed if there was more than 1. So in 4 books of The Witcher, you don't get any witchering. Like any. It's at the start of book 5 when he finally starts to kill some monsters here and there, and then it's gone. So it's just awful. Mages body him in melee, so he's not even a better swordsman than mages are, which mages are powerful, don't get me wrong, but like The Witcher, and then, oh shit, mages are just better in every single way. And monsters had several opportunities to get him, but just didn't. He's a dick to his friends and people that help him, but like more than just grumpy, like he is actively a dick. And my main problem is like he's incorrect all the time. He's always incorrect throughout these books until book 5 is when he finally starts to be right about stuff. But like there's points in that time where he's trying to go travel to get Ciri where he's like, I want to go to the river. And his friends are like, no, actually Nilfgaard is camping right next to the river. They'll totally kill us. I'm going to the river. But no, Geralt, you can't do that. I went scouting ahead. Actually, I saw the Nilfgaardians. They're right around the corner. We can't go around the corner. Is Ciri across river? We have no idea where Ciri is. Ciri's probably across river. I'm going across river. Geralt, seriously, there's an army there. You can't go across the river. I'm gonna go. And he just turns the corner. There's a bunch of Nilfgaardians and he gets knocked out and captured again. This dude gets captured more than Princess Peach. Like, I'm not trying to be funny. He is captured for like half the books by a bunch of different fucking people. Temeria captures him and then they want to hang him. Then the Nilfgaardians capture him and then he escapes. Like, Vilgefortz captures him. Vilgefortz leaves him alive barely. And that shit happens all the time. All the time. Geralt lives... He lives maybe twice by his own skill, and legitimately 7 times by either his friend saving him or the person trying to kill him just deciding not to. At one point, there's this big fight that is more in series plotlines we'll talk about in the series section, but like there's this island fight where the mages have a giant clusterfuck of politics that's actually really interesting, but not what this video is about. And Vilgefortz wants to capture Ciri. He's the bad guy, and that's been revealed now. And Geralt gets all high and mighty, and he's like, a mage challenging a witcher in sword combat? And then Vilgefortz like, I'm gonna beat your ass, and beats the piss out of Geralt. And he like bludgeons him within an inch of his life, and he goes, now Witcher, I'll leave you alive as a lesson. And then later, like, Geralt shows up and bodies his ass, and like 4 books later, but like that happens all the time for Geralt. He just runs into a situation where the person who wants to kill him has him at their mercy and just goes, nah. And once or twice, it's kind of funny. Like 7 times, it's obnoxious. And I just don't give a shit about this character anymore. And again, if it's a comedy, then it's kind of funny because you don't care. It's a comedy. But I went into this thinking Geralt was a badass, and just watching him get completely fucked through all these books is like, huh, he kind of sucks. Like, he's not very smart. He's not very nice. He's not very loyal to his friends. He he doesn't do anything. He just doesn't do anything. Why is this book called The Witcher? Because he's barely in it, and when he's in it, he's getting his ass kicked all the time. And also, the other characters don't seem to live in the same universe he does, because, like, Dijkstra will be talking to Yennefer, and Yennefer's like, you just wait, Dijkstra. When big dick, handsome, amazing Geralt shows up, he's gonna kick your ass. And Dijkstra's like, oh, I know of the Witcher, the ancient cunning wisdom. Anything he does must be correct because he's so ancient and cunning. And then, like, it hard cuts to Geralt getting his shit kicked in by 2 random thugs in a side alley because he thought it'd be smart to blindfold himself or something else stupid that he fucking did. And you're just like, yeah, why does everyone respect him? I'm not seeing it. Like, in these 5 books, I am not shown Geralt being cool. And he gets in fights until book 5. He gets in fights with bandits throughout all the books. And he wins like half of them. And again, people might be like, well, he took on a 5v1 and he won half the time. That's pretty cool. And I'm like, that's kind of cool, but not like have kings and nobility give a shit about you kind of cool. Like, have them worry about your opinion kind of cool. Like, send master assassins after you kind of cool. That's just kind of cool. Like, the guy who captures Ciri that we'll talk about later, he kills like 6 trained soldiers like it's no big deal, and he does it consistently. He doesn't die till book 5. Like, that guy's way fucking better than Geralt. You don't see Dijkstra of Redania being like, oh, I wonder what Boneheart thinks about this situation. He doesn't give a fuck what Boneheart thinks. So it's just, Geralt's not very good. All right. On the Geralt section, I just need to find out if there's anything else I specifically wanted to talk about. So Geralt travels to find Ciri. Geralt travels to find Ciri. Geralt travels to find Ciri. Okay, yeah, so he gets captured in a small town, then captured in another town, only saved by random rebels. So that keeps happening too, where it's like he's captured, and then an event in the world will happen near him that just happens to free him. So that's pretty whatever. Oh, and the monster thing. Okay, I'll mention the monster thing. So here's my example about like how Geralt's stupid with monsters. So they go to this graveyard at night, and it's him and this little party of people he's gotten together to look for Ciri. It doesn't really matter. Dandelion's there and shit. So are some of the dwarves. And they're going through a graveyard, and they see a mysterious man wandering through the graveyard, and they go, are you some kind of ghoul? And the mysterious man in the middle of the night wandering the graveyard with fangs coming out of his mouth goes, me? Dangerous? I couldn't possibly be a vampire. And they go, we didn't actually say anything about a vampire. Are you a vampire? You have to tell me if you're a vampire. You a vampire? And he's like, no, I'm just an innocent man out in the middle of the night in the graveyard, wandering around. And they go, oh, hey, cool, man. Do you have a house nearby? And he goes, yes, I have a house nearby. Can we go to that house nearby? Yes, I'd love to have you at my house nearby. Though you have to invite me in. So they go to the vampire's house, and Geralt has no idea this guy's a fucking vampire, even though he should. There's like the book keeps saying he's like, something ain't right about this. And then the stranger in the graveyard in the middle of the night offers them like this alcohol made out of a poisonous substance, and Geralt looks at him and goes, that substance is poisonous. And the vampire, definitely a vampire, goes, it's only poisonous if you brew it wrong. So Geralt takes this strange man in the woods like at his word that he brewed, fucking hillbilly hick over here brewed this extremely dangerous poison thing correctly to get vodka. It's not like Geralt's like bleeding out and he's like, oh, I have to take this medicine or I'm gonna die. I hope he made it right. Like, he doesn't have to get fucking tanked in the woods with all of his party. They just do, or the options are get tanked or die, or, you know, just leave. So he's like, he gets completely shithoused, and this vampire isn't drinking that much, and like all of his companions, all these heroes we're supposed to care about, are completely out of commission. Like, they can't stand up, they can't do anything, they are so drunk. And the vampire could have just murdered them all, but didn't. And then like Geralt wakes up the next morning, he has a giant headache, and the vampire gives him something for it, and then he's like, oh hey, I feel better. And then like halfway through that book later, they find out that this guy's a vampire, like, for sure. And Geralt's like, I suspected. I'm like, you suspected, but then you fucking put yourself completely at his mercy. And like, oh, my neck sure does look tasty and open right now, but it's not a bait because you were fucking knocked out, my dude. Like, you just drank yourself into a stupor in front of a vampire. And for context, it's like, that's like doing that in front of like a werewolf or something less humanoid, you know, where it's like, I suspected you were a monster. Like that time I was hunting that two-headed bear and I went to the front of its cave, covered myself in boar meat and just took a nap. And then like 3 days later, it told me it was a bear and I sleuthed that out. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. If that vampire wanted you dead, you're dead. And the vampire told him, and like all of his friends are like, oh, if we stay with Geralt, we'll be so safe from the vampire. I'm like, the vampire had to tell you it was a vampire for you to... He didn't figure it out. Like, he's not fucking Sherlock Holmes. He's not a good monster hunter. He's just a dumbass. And like, this vampire could have killed him at any point. But then, like, in the book, the vampire's still like, I have to be wary around the Witcher, because Witchers are so good at hunting monsters. And I'm like, we has demonstrated he is not! Like, you showed him how terrible he is at this. You, the monster, offered him poison. You told him it was poison. He was like, I love poison. And got fucking knocked unconscious in your stupid hut. I hate it. He also has a bum knee in a lot of this book. So it's just kind of like, and some people are going to bring that up and say like, well, in the prequels, which I'm reading now, and Geralt actually is a badass, he didn't have a bum knee. I'm like, yeah, but like not paying attention to where he's going when he's riding his horse and getting knocked out by a tree branch, getting kicked in the head by his horse during like a rebellion, just getting tanked with a vampire in the woods, like those aren't things you can blame on his bad knee. This dude should be dead several times over, but just like people just don't kill him. Ugh. Anyway, so there's another moment I just wanted to mention here that doesn't make any sense to me, and I mentioned it on stream, but like here comes one of the weird things. So Geralt hates this guy in the books named Cahir. And Cahir, if you saw the show, he's the Nilfgaardian with the winged helmet who captures Ciri when she's trying to flee Sintra. And then she escapes from him while he's taking her, like from the city, she escapes. And when he gets back to Nilfgaard, they're like, you were supposed to capture Princess Cyrilla. And he says, yeah, I failed. So they want him executed. And by happenstance, he ends up in front of Geralt. And Geralt's like, I recognize you. You're the guy that stole Ciri. You're from her dreams. And he hates him. So they travel together for a really long time, and over time, this one's fine. Like, they travel together over time, and he's like, I fucking hate you, I want to kill you, and Cahir's like, I know, but your honor won't let you do it, on and on and on, and they eventually, they fight side by side for long enough that Geralt's like, all right. They're sitting in front of a fire, and it's just those two, and he's like, I forgive you for capturing Ciri, I know you're a good guy. So Geralt just got over, he has hated this guy for like weeks of traveling together. He just got over that he kidnapped Ciri. And Geralt's like obsessed with Ciri. And Cahir goes, hey Geralt, I have a confession to make while we're making confessions. You know how Ciri was 11 when I kidnapped her? I fell in love with her instantly. I knew Ciri is the person I'm supposed to be with. I dream of her at night. I have to marry and make love to this person. And Geralt's like, I know, buddy. It's okay. I'm like, what do you mean it's okay? Like, what do you mean it's okay? And I mentioned this to chat during a live stream at some point where they're like, well, he's having dreams about her now when she's like 15. So that's more okay. I'm like, I mean, she's still 15, but sure, I'm not trying to culture shame here. Let's say 15 is acceptable wherever she's from. Fine. What's not fine is he fell in love with her when she was 11. That's not great. And he fell in love with her while he was kidnapping her, which is not great. It's not a great time to fall in love with somebody because you didn't fall in love with them for any of the right reasons. It's not like, oh man, when I was kidnapping her, like we had a really interesting conversation or whatever. You fell in love with her because you wanted a fucking 11-year-old. That's not okay. So Geralt's just like, I don't like you because you kidnapped my adoptive daughter, but the fact that you're a pedophile is totally fine. And that wasn't totally fine for me. So then Cat here, this guy that's been built up throughout these books, like this character that you get to know, I'm like, well, now I fucking hate this guy. And every time he's on screen, I'm like, nope, I don't really like the pedophile guy. Sorry. Not for me. And when he has his heroic death and whatever, like the book's like, oh, it's so sad. The pedophile died. I'm like, is it? Is that something I'm supposed to be sad about? Because I don't know. I don't think I'm feeling the way you want me to feel about this guy. I don't like him. Ugh. So that was fucking weird and uncomfortable. But yeah. So then, is this the last thing? Nah, this isn't the last thing about Geralt. But one of the last things I wanted to dive into, the final moment that just like assassinated Geralt. So Geralt's already had significant damage done to him by the time I get to book 5. I'm like, I kind of hate Geralt. I'm sorry, but so Geralt and his crew exhaust their leads to finding Ciri. They have no idea where Ciri is. The search for her is over because they don't know where to find her. But like Geralt's very upset about it. And they end up in this fairy tale like kingdom where Dandelion used to fuck the countess person who owns it, so they're gonna get room and board there for a while. And Geralt starts to monster hunt. That part of the book's pretty good. Monster hunting, nice, fun, we love that. And Geralt wants to leave immediately, and he gets pissed at Dandelion for falling in love with the Duchess again, or the Countess, or whatever her rank is. And he's like, you're supposed to help me find Ciri, how could you fall in love? But throughout all the books up to this point, like literally every 5 seconds, he turns to the party and he goes, hey, you guys, I know you've all been following me, but this next part's going to be dangerous and I don't want to put you in danger, so please stay behind. Please stay behind, you guys. And they never do. They never abandon him, and he's always so annoyed. He's like, God, why do my friends love me so much? And now Dandelion's like, hey, I'm actually falling in love with this girl. I kind of want to stay here. And Geralt's like, so you're just abandoning the hunt for Ciri? And I'm like, dude, make up your mind. All right, don't be like a stereotypical teenage girl about this, Geralt. Like, pick a lane. Do you want Dandelion to stay somewhere safe while you go on your vengeance quest that you think is going to get you killed? Or do you want him right there at your side? Because you can't just constantly complain no matter what he does. And then, so he just complained that Dandelion's abandoning the hunt for Ciri because he fell in love, and then he starts fucking this Fringilla Nilfgaard sorceress, who's tricking him, by the way. So great, he's falling for another trick. But like, he's like, man, her tits are so big, I guess I'll abandon Ciri too. And I'm like, what? And they stay in this place for multiple months, and at one point he overhears a conversation where his entire crew of like people that have been caring for him and all this stuff, they're like, we really want to leave this kingdom, we got to keep looking for Ciri, we can ask around, look for leads, we're learning nothing here, and Ciri is in danger. He hears this, turns around, goes back to the Fringilla in the bedroom, and he's like, I heard something depressing, wanna fuck? And she's like, sure. And I'm like, what is happening? So like, this character is just the worst. He's just the worst. And like, there's something from Fringilla that I was going to mention, but then I realized she was probably being manipulative and lying, so I'm not going to bring that up. But like, during sex, he keeps calling out Yennefer's name. So like, he's emotionally cheating on Yennefer, giving up on chasing after Ciri that he's obsessed about. And like, it's just awful. It's all terrible. And then like, Fringilla talks about how he used to be, this is the lady he's fucking, she's like, when I first started seducing Geralt, all he could talk about was Ciri, but now that's faded. Now he just talks about me. I've done it. And then like, someone asks, have you worked a spell on him? And she goes, just the spells of womanhood, my dear. And I'm like, great. So Geralt's abandoning his daughter for a woman, but not even Yennefer. A woman he's going to pretend is Yennefer. So Geralt's like mentally cucking himself. I'm supposed to care about this character? I'm supposed to like this guy? Checking my notes. I'm supposed to like the... Oh, okay, I'm supposed to like this guy. I hate this guy. And then he happens upon a golden horn in a tunnel. It's like linked up to a fortress up into the fairy tale kingdom where they've been staying. It's just in a cave below a castle that he happened upon while he was on a monster hunt. He wandered up and he's like, oh, what's this? And he listens into it. And at the exact moment that he happened to find it while hunting for an unrelated monster, the agents from Nilfgaard happen to be in the room that the listening device is connected to. They happen to know where Ciri is, and they happen to talk right then about where Ciri is and give him the exact location, essentially starting a conversation with, right, so everyone here, you know Ciri is in Rushmond Castle, right? Rushmond Castle, across the river, 2 paces to the left, just across the Nilfgaardian border. If you're where Geralt's currently standing, about 2 miles to the northwest, yeah, that castle, she is in there. All right. And here's when she's leaving. So here's the exact window of time Geralt has to get there. What were we talking about? Taxes. Got it. And then they move on. And it's like the sheer calamity of unlikely circumstances for that to be the way he finds out where Ciri is. After searching for 3.5 books, he does not find Ciri by his own merits. He does not find it by his own effort. He does not find it with his own investigation skills. He does not find it with his own persuasion, contacts, resources, coercion, threatening, bribery, murder. He doesn't find her through anything. He finds her because he listens to a fucking horn in a cave right when her exact location is being discussed. And why did the Nilfgaardian agents discuss her location in a random fucking place that's not in Nilfgaard? Can you imagine? Can you imagine if you were at war with a place and you go into that place to discuss the secret location of something you're after? Why wouldn't you discuss that in your own fucking territory? Ooh, especially when Ciri is in your territory. They left Nilfgaard to talk about where Ciri is, which is in Nilfgaard. And then they were overheard by an enemy agent because of course they were. So it's not great. And then to finish up the Geralt side, when we get to the big final fight with Vilgefortz, who is the mage who crippled Geralt earlier on the mage fight and barely let him live as a warning for no reason, he fights Geralt again. He completely bodies Geralt and Yennefer and Regis the vampire. But then at the very last second, so Vilgefortz is this very powerful mage who beat up Geralt earlier in 1v1 combat. And he has multiple heroes attacking him at the same time, and he beats them all with magic, and then he pushes Geralt around with magic, and he crushes him against the wall for a bit, and then he drops Geralt, and he's like, all right, Geralt, I have a lot of important things to do, but I'm going to fight you 1v1, man-to-man in melee combat. And Geralt's like, okay, why? And Vilgefortz is like, I have literally no idea. And then Vilgefortz loses that fight and dies. And I care a lot. I care a lot about a protagonist when everything just kind of works out for him. Like the bad guy had him completely disarmed with magic, and he could have murdered him at any second. And he decided, nah, fuck it. I don't want to win this fight. I guess I'll just 1v1 you with sticks like barbarians because I'm not a mage who has magic. And like, I know you could say like, oh man, but evil guys are always doing that. Evil guys are always overconfident and all this stuff. Yes, but every evil guy is always overconfident against Geralt. Geralt has not won a single important fight in these books without the bad guy just handing it to him, and it keeps fucking happening. So I don't care about Geralt because he hasn't shown me he's good at anything. He's shown me that everyone is so utterly unimpressed by his abilities, rightfully so, that they keep giving him fucking freebies and second and third and fourth chances. And eventually one of those chances goes his way. It just sucks. It just sucks. And then like at the end, Ciri's father, the Emperor of Nilfgaard shows up. And he says, I have to marry Ciri for political reasons. And Geralt goes, that's your daughter. Like, he revealed that the Emperor of Nilfgaard is Ciri's father, and he wants to marry her and have children with her, children of incest, to get land. And Geralt is like, you know I can't let that happen. And the Emperor is like, you're gonna have to. And Geralt, the badass, the super cool, amazing guy that he is, because he cares about Ciri so much, and he'll do anything to defend her, gets up and goes, guess I'll kill myself to keep this a secret. So he's going to let Ciri get raped by her father for the rest of her life. And he is going to kill himself so that he doesn't have to die fighting? I don't see what the point is, Geralt. If you're gonna die anyway, go out swinging. Like, try and make a gap for her to escape. Try and kill this guy so she doesn't get raped by her father forever. No, I gotta kill myself. If you could let Yennefer in too, Yennefer and I will both kill ourselves and just be out of your way. What? And then, if you haven't noticed the series of this book so far, so her dad, Ciri's dad, has everything. He captured Geralt and Yennefer. They agreed to kill themselves for some reason, and they were gonna go through with it. They actually didn't try and escape. They were actually going to kill themselves. He gets to Ciri. He sees Ciri. He sees his daughter, and he's like, you know what? I'm doing something kind of fucked up. I'm not gonna do that. Ciri, you're free to go. Go tell Geralt and Yen not to kill themselves. And he rides away because he just couldn't do it. Which, like, good, great for him. Great, amazing. I'm not complaining about that at all. Please don't do that. That was all awful to hear. But Ciri bursts in and goes, Geralt, Yen, don't kill yourselves. And Geralt and Yen were like, man, we were just about to kill ourselves. Like, the knives were at our throats. Like, man, we were ready. And Ciri's like, yeah, Dad just left. Like, he and all of his guys left. We're free to go. There's no one here. And they walk outside the tower and everybody's gone. And I'm like, holy shit, this character sucks. Like, this character sucks. Geralt is the worst. But he's not the worst. And on to the final part of our video, Ciri is actually the worst. Ciri sucks. Ciri is the worst thing ever. And now, full disclosure, I didn't like Ciri in Witcher 3 either, but man, she's insufferable in the books. I hate Ciri, and we'll get into it. But I hear The Witcher 4 is going to be about Ciri. I could not be less excited. I don't think I'm going to get that game, because I don't give a fuck about Ciri. I give less of a fuck about her after reading these books. So here are my notes on Ciri, and then we'll get into the specifics. Ciri, terrible, just terrible. Whiny kid with superpowers trained to be the best. Then betrayal thing at Tower and Yen. Yen and Geralt potentially die to defend her, and she jumps through a portal and then blames them. Becomes a bandit, obsessed with murder, and a complete dunce. Does a bunch of cocaine in a shack, terrorizes innocent families. When she's injured, she berates the hermit that saved her, and is just insufferable. So I thought highly of Ciri. Let's get into Ciri, the second character you would theoretically read these books to learn more about. She sucks. She is the worst. Ugh. Okay. Book 1, Ciri trains. Honestly, fine. Like, she's a little girl. She's training. She's fine. No real problems here. Book 2, Ciri travels to a city. And now here's the Council of Mages betrayal. And here's where I wanted to talk about it. I brought it up before, but Ciri is the important character here, so I wanted it to be in her section. So the very short version is the Council of all the mages meets up, and there's 3 mage factions. Vilgefortz and a bunch of secret elven commandos want Ciri for secret bad guy reasons. Later we find out that Ciri is this child of destiny that has been hit over the head millions of times. So Vilgefortz wants to breed her with him. I mean, he wants to breed with her, but he's going to do it very sciencey, like in a test tube. And he wants to create the next heir that'll make the prophecy come true, and then he wants to be in control of that prophecy. And the prophecy is kept very vague, but essentially everyone dies. So I don't really know why Vilgefortz wants to be in control of everyone dying, because the prophecy says everyone dies. But yeah, so he wants to kidnap her for that. There's one faction that wants to use her for Nilfgaard. There's one faction that wants to use her for the North in the big war. Okay? Super broad strokes. If you're into the details, you're going to be like, well, that's not correct. And it's like, it's close enough for what I need to get done. So Yennefer and Geralt are kind of a fourth faction. They don't want her to be caught by anybody because they want her to, not be a pawn in a larger game. So Geralt and Yennefer break her out of this situation. Everybody's fighting all the time, but Geralt and Yennefer are running with her. And there's one point where the bad guys are closing in on them, and Yennefer stops and says to Ciri and Geralt, keep running, I'll hold them here, and holds a door closed with like some magic, and she goes to fight and stuff. So Ciri saw her do that. That was not a secret. Ciri saw her mother figure stay behind to try and give her and Geralt some time. Then Geralt and Ciri get to this tower that Ciri needs to go to the top of to be safe. Like, they don't have an escape plan yet. They're just running. And Geralt stops, and Vilgefortz shows up, this big bad guy. And Ciri's like, Geralt, what are we going to do? And Geralt's like, I'll hold here. You run. So Ciri starts to run, and she stops and watches the fight unfold because she, can't help it. She's a kid, and her dad is fighting for her. So Geralt, her father figure, her real dad is a monster, as we discussed, but not a whole monster. Anyway, so Geralt stops, fights Vilgefortz, and Ciri sees him lose, sees him get his knee shattered, his brains beaten out, and Vilgefortz could have killed him at any moment, but decides not to. But she didn't stick around to find that decides not to. When she realizes Geralt lost, she runs for her life. So she watched Geralt get his ass handed to him while he defended her. She watched Yennefer get left behind. I keep throwing this in there because I really don't like the excuse that, well, she's just a kid. Anyway, so she runs to the top of the tower. She jumps through this portal to escape Vilgefortz, and she appears in a desert. Now, is a teenage girl showing up in a desert all alone a stressful situation? Yes, I understand that. I'm not saying the things Ciri does are impossible to wrap my mind around. She's irrational. I get that. It doesn't mean I have to like her, because she just starts bawling and whining about, now I'm not criticizing her for being alone and bawling. She's bawling and whining about her parents abandoning her. And she's like, Geralt and Yennefer abandoned me. They said they'd always be with me, and then they left me in this desert. I'm like, bitch, what are you talking about? What? They died defending you. You watched it happen. Are you seriously just sitting here being like, Geralt died instead of helping? He died helping you, but fine. The first breakdown she has is more understandable. The problem I have with it is this isn't the only one. After she escapes from the desert, after she links up with these bandits, which we'll get into, she still blames Geralt and Yen. She still says, I bet they're not even looking for me. And I'm like, bitch, as far as you know, they're dead. Like, they gave everything for you to be safe, and you watched it happen, and your takeaway was, man, fuck those guys. You're an asshole. You're just the worst person. I don't give a shit about you. I hope you die in these books. And it's like, no, she's the most important child in history. The Wild Hunt is after her. Everybody's after her. She's got important blood. And I'm like, she sucks, though. She just sucks. I don't care how important she is to the plot. I don't want to read about this fucking character. Oh, so she's just the worst. Anyway, she links up with these bandits, and like, they're called the Rats. And she just does a lot of cocaine with them over the course of like months, and raids places, and like steals from innocent people, allegedly murders innocent people. And she's just obsessed with murder and violence and all these things. And again, like, maybe she's acting out. Yeah. I'm not saying it's unbelievable. I'm saying she sucks. And yet the book's like, oh, poor Ciri. I'm like, what do you mean poor Ciri? She's just the worst. She's causing so much harm to like everyone and just doing a ton of cocaine. I don't give a shit about her. So then I mentioned that all those rats died. The rats were the bandits. They're not little rats. So her new friends died, and she gets captured by this guy named Bonhart. He's kind of a badass, but he's very, very evil. And she goes through a bunch of problems. But the other things about Ciri happen when she escapes. So she escapes from Bonhart and runs, and she finds that hermit I mentioned at the start of book 4. But she meets him in like the second half of book 4 because time jumps. But anyway, she meets up with this hermit, and like, she's wounded and she passes out, and this hermit takes care of her and like nurses her back to health. And she like constantly berates him, like all the time. Even though he's healing her, like, she's just constantly an asshole to this guy who has been nothing but nice to her. And then she finds out some bandits are nearby, so she goes to murder them, and it's kind of implied she murders everybody in this tavern, like even random innocent people, but whatever. And then she rants about revenge and murder to this guy, and she says scholars are dumb, like you people, like you hermits are all dumb and losers because you just read books, you don't know how the world is. And like, again, she's maybe speaking out of anger, and that's fine, but that's all she fucking does, so why would I care about her? And then this Hermit finds a way for her to get back to Geralt, and it's the Tower of the Swallow, where she can get through this portal that'll take her back the other way. And she's like, where is it? And he goes, I don't know, I'm trying to find it. And she's like, well, find it, you blind old man. And I'm like, wow, you are such a bitch. Like, you are just the worst. This guy is trying to help you, and you're just berating him for having bad eyesight because he's old. Like, he saved your life, and he's done nothing to wrong you. And she fucking sucks. Anyway, he dies of a heart attack, and she doesn't care. She cares way later, but not when he dies. Now, there are some problems with her age, where, like, she'll flash to different ages at different points. Like, Ciri was apparently 15. So there's this story where, and this section of the video is about Ciri being not, like, terrible in personality, but terrible in writing. I honestly think Ciri is written very poorly. This one, I'll die on that hill that she's written poorly. But there's this story where she was 15 when she was betrothed to the Skellige prince she beat at a jumping contest when Calanthe was still alive. But I researched it, and I've seen that she was either 11, 12, or 10 when Sintra fell. So Calanthe died, and then 3 years later, she got betrothed to the Skellige prince, and Calanthe was still alive. That doesn't work. Like, that, the timeline of her meeting up with this prince literally doesn't work. Anyway, and this part of my notes is funny. And how did a fucking 10, 12, 15-year-old girl, because I just wrote them all because I have no idea what age she's supposed to be in this story, because it's not making any sense for this one flashback. So there's this story of the Skellige prince, where, like, Skellige is that island of, like, Vikings. And there's this sport that the Vikings do where they skate really fast on an ice pond, and they jump over this section that has rocks. And, like, the section gets broader as it goes on. It's like a triangle, you know? So they're jumping, and, like, you know, you can jump over the thin end or you can jump over the broad end, right? And the contest is to see who can jump over the broader parts until one of you fucks up and, like, hits rocks and falls down and, like, break your shins or whatever. And there's this Prince of Skellige who's beaten everybody at this for years and years. He's played this game dozens of times every winter for dozens of years. So he's competed in this event like 100 times, and no one has beat him. Ciri shows up, and she's either 10, 12, or 15, depending on the book errors. But let's say she's 15. I'll give her the best case scenario. But remember that this story also happens in a way where she's 10 years old. So either a 10-year-old girl, 12-year-old girl, or a 15-year-old girl does this. Mary Sue-ass character. So she sees the boys playing, and she's like, what are you guys doing? And they explain the rules of the game to her, and she's never ice skated before in her life. So she just learned the rules, and she just learned to ice skate in this moment. And she's like, you're a bully, I challenge you. And the prince is like, ha ha ha, nobody's beaten me. And then she jumps further than anybody's ever seen. She jumps over the broadest part of the triangle, and the boy, not wanting to be outdone and he's embarrassed, tries to jump. He doesn't get close, and he fucking falls and breaks, like, his leg permanently. And he still has the scar in the present when he's telling, like, Yennefer this story. And I'm like, I hate this shit. I hate that Ciri is the best at everything. She's the child of destiny, she's all this stuff, but also she's so good at skate jumping. It's like, skate jumping doesn't have shit to do with magic. It doesn't have shit to do with this prophecy. It doesn't have shit to do with being a witcher. Like, there is no reason she's naturally good at this thing. And she's not a witcher yet. She's not a witcher by this point, because she became a witcher when she was 12, which is after she was 15, because Calanthe was still alive, but then died when she was 12. The timeline doesn't make sense, but, like, it doesn't have to be. You can't be like, man, Luke Skywalker has the truest heart, and he's the most powerful in the Force, and he's also really fucking sick at basketball. What? Why the third one? Did he need that? Did he need to be sick at basketball? I don't think so. So Ciri is perfect at everything, especially at doing cocaine and murdering innocent people. She's great at that, and for some reason we're glossing over it. Yeah. Book 5, somehow Ciri's worse. So Ciri starts time traveling a lot and teleporting, and that's just, I don't really like time travel in medieval books. I barely like it in futuristic books, but in fantasy books, I hate time travel. So she goes through that tower. I mentioned the hermit was trying to find for her, and she yelled at him for not finding it fast enough, I guess. So she gets through this portal, and she shows up with these elves. These elves, they're interdimensional elves. And they kidnap her, and they go, we're going to hold you here until you have sex with our king and give birth to the chosen child of prophecy with our king so we can rule the interdimensions. And she goes, I'm not going to do that. And then she meets the king, and the king is an asshole. He is aloof. He is cold. And she just doesn't like him at all. And then, like, one night randomly, he's aloof and cold, and she's like, you know what? I'd bone him. And, like, she seems to kind of get excited by being held prisoner. And I'm like, that's really weird. Oh yeah, and earlier in the book, I forgot to mention, there was this one guy who had a horse so beautiful, she got sexually aroused by the horse and decided to fuck the guy because she couldn't fuck the horse. She's like, man, I want to fuck the horse, but I can't, so I guess I'll fuck the guy. Anyway, it was during her bandit days. I forgot that, but then I remembered with this king thing. So she's weird. She's very strange. Ugh. Yeah. Anyway. So the elves are trying to hold her captive, and they're like very deliberate. They have like this FBI of elves that go like, we're watching you. Every move you make, you can't fucking escape from this place. Nothing. You'll never get out of here. Also, there's a hill. And she goes, what's on the hill? Don't ask that. Never go there. You're not allowed to go there. And she's like, okay, I'm being held prisoner, right? Yeah. Prisoner. Like, I don't have a freedom of movement. Yeah. And you don't want me to go on that hill. Yeah. What if I just walk at that hill slowly? I don't know. We're not really paying attention. And like, she just gets left unguarded, and she goes, I'm gonna go up that hill. She goes up that hill, and up there's unicorns. Unicorns go, hey, you want to learn how to teleport and time travel? And you, in the distance, I'm making this part up for humor's sake, but in the distance, one of the elves is like, hey, where'd Siri go? I think she went to the unicorn hill. Oh, fuck, don't those guys know how to time travel? Yeah, that's why we said she can't go up there, is because they can teleport her. Man, we should have put up a fence around that, or had anyone watching her at all. Because when we take someone prisoner and then tell them not to go on an unguarded hill because they might escape, I didn't think that they would go to that hill. Shit. So then the unicorn teaches her to teleport, and she escapes. Holy shit, guys. Who could have seen that coming? She went to the fucking teleporter hill and teleported away. And like, this whole arc was one chapter. And I literally, so here's my notes. Here's my notes about this chapter. She needs to fuck this elf king that hates her, but then they leave her unguarded, and she goes to the place she's not supposed to go, and then there's unicorns there. Yeah, she's gonna go, idiots. Crazy rushed, wants to fuck this repulsive torturer, and ends up sad the king died. What the hell just happened? A whole arc, a disturbing arc, in one chapter, and she's gone. So I was not great with that one. And then like during her time travel, I did mention this on stream, and this, if you're treating it like a comedy, again, to go back to, this book isn't bad, I just had the wrong expectations. If you're treating it like a comedy, this next one is like, I guess supposed to be kind of funny, but I just found it really weird. So she's teleporting. This armored girl with 2 swords is teleporting on the back of a giant black warhorse. And she ends up in this forest, and there's a creepy old man just crouching behind a stump, and he sees her appear out of thin air, and she goes, what time and place is this? And he goes, time, place, you sound like a time traveler. I saw you come out of them portals, time traveler. And she goes, yeah, I'm a time traveler. And he goes, cool, what's that over there? And she turns around, he hits her with the flat side of an axe because he wants to knock her unconscious and rape her. He doesn't want to kill her. And then when she doesn't go unconscious, like, and then the horse hates him because he just knocked Siri out, and the horse is apparently, like Siri. So the horse kind of distracts him for a second while Siri gets her bearing. She pulls out her sword, and then he flips the axe around. He's like, guess I'll have to kill you. And I'm like, so again, similar to the Geralt arc, it's like, I mean, Siri could have just died. She also could have been trapped forever if the elves hadn't just not guarded her in any way. So what the fuck? Like, our heroes just keep escaping because people let them escape. They don't earn any of this shit. Anyway, so now the guy tries to kill her, but she's a time-traveling super knight, so she murders his ass, and I'm like, what was with the hermit? Not the nice hermit. This is a different forest hermit. What was with him just waiting around behind a stump for a time-traveling knight to come by so he could rape her? How is that a thing? How is that a believable thing that happens? Are there a lot of time travelers that he comes across? Is this just Time Traveler Cove where they just show up? I don't know. It's asinine and it's stupid. So, Ciri. Oh, fuck. I missed something. Sorry. So, you know when she starts time traveling? So, the hermit, way back when, not the bad hermit, the good hermit that showed at the tower. I forgot this, but I hated it. So, remember, in the desert, she had a little fit about Geralt and Yen abandoning her because, you know, they had the audacity to die. And then she had a little fit with the bandits while she was doing cocaine because they had the audacity to die. And then she has a dream where Geralt and Yennefer are alive right now, but they're in trouble and they need Ciri's help. So Ciri gets up and she, like, I'm not doing this for comedy. She literally gets up and has the attitude of, ugh, fine. I guess if Geralt and Yennefer can't handle themselves, I'll have to save them. And then she tries really hard to find out where this tower is and stuff. And I'm like, you suck. You are so shit. Like, this is beyond the, oh, she's grieving and she's irrational. She learned they're in danger. And, like, she hasn't been looking for them at all. She's been fucking around doing cocaine and murdering innocents instead of trying to find Geralt. Like, this shit goes two ways. This goes two ways. You can't complain that Geralt can't find you if you're putting in no effort to go find Geralt when you're safe and he's in danger. So now that he's actually in danger and she can dream it, she's like, oh, I guess I'll go save them. And I'm like, fuck you, man. No, sorry. I'll go save them. And then she throws in, even though they abandoned me. They didn't abandon you, you shit. You watched them die. Like, as far as you know, they've been dead for you. And now you have this asshole attitude about, like, I guess I'll save them now that I know they're alive and they can't handle themselves. You just suck. You're the fucking worst. God, she's awful. Anyway, so flash forward, she learns to time travel, elves, all that shit. And then her big master plan of, fine, I guess I'll go save them, is she teleports into Vilgefortz's castle, walks up to Vilgefortz and all of his minions, and she says, I'll turn myself in if you let Yennefer go. And Vilgefortz looks at her, and this was actually kind of funny. It did make me laugh. He's like, you're here, though. Why do I have to give you Yennefer? You're here. You have nothing. So he just magics her and grabs her, like, with a giant invisible fist. And she just gets, like, slammed to the floor. And she goes, huh. Okay, I didn't think this through. And I'm like, the last 7 chapters were her journey to get here and her big plan. And her plan was literally just ask him nicely. And if he says no, which he did, she is completely fucked. So, what the shit? So then Vilgefortz takes Ciri up to this room, and remember, one of his minions, remember as if I had told you, one of his minions is that Bonhart guy who captured her before, like the best swordsman that's ever lived. And Vilgefortz, the best mage who's ever lived, who's also apparently a way better fighter than Geralt, is there too. And then there's 3 random stooges. So then these 5 guys, remember, Bonhart, Vilgefortz, and 3 random stooges take Ciri, the child of prophecy that everyone has been after, and Vilgefortz has been after for years, up to his chamber where he has these dimeridium shackles to hold her so she can't cast magic or do anything. He walks up there and he goes, now I'm going to show you all of my tools with which I'm going to impregnate your eggs science-like and take over the world. See them all? Yes. And then a minion comes up and he says, Vilgefortz, sir, we're under attack. And Vilgefortz is like, I'm doing something actually very important right now. I can't deal with this. And the guy goes, but sir, we're really under attack. And Vilgefortz goes, very well. Ciri needs to be secured with those shackles so she can't teleport or do anything silly. And we'll go deal with this invasion. And then the screen cuts away to Geralt and Yennefer breaking in and all that stuff. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Cool. Yep. I assume things are going on off screen that are fine. And then the next section, you get back to Ciri, and Ciri says, oh, the three buffoons are taking her towards the shackles. And she looks around, like, she's not, the book doesn't literally say she looks around to see if Vilgefortz is still here. She looks around, and by the nature of what the book describes to you, you learn Vilgefortz and Bonhart fucking left before she was in the handcuffs. Why wasn't she in the handcuffs when you were showing her all of the shit? Why wouldn't you just put her in handcuffs? 5 seconds! Take 5 seconds to put her in the handcuffs before you and Bonhart leave! Because I don't trust 3 random fucks to handle a time-traveling super witch! And spoilers! They can't handle the time-traveling super witch! So she escapes! She escapes with the help of a vampire, but she was going to escape anyway because she was already fighting them and kind of kicking their ass before Regis the vampire shows up and murders them and goes, hey, Geralt's looking for you. And Ciri goes, great, I'll be right down, and then starts running around the castle because you didn't secure her, which would have taken you 5 fucking seconds. And why is every one of these books allergic to doing anything right? Oh, it's maddening. So Ciri wanders around, duels Bonhart, and ends up killing him this time because she's a superpowered Witcher girl and he's a great swordsman, but he fucks up because, say it with me kids, because it's all over this book, he doesn't take several opportunities to kill her because he wants to rape her first, and then he dies. Because everybody wants to commit sexual violence in these books. Don't worry, they're good books. Besides the 2 main characters, and besides all the sexual violence, they're great. I do mean that, but there is a lot of it in these books, and it was very uncomfortable for me. So, I got, in the Geralt section, I mentioned that for some reason Vilgefortz decides to fight Geralt normally instead of killing him with magic, as he was killing everybody with magic, and he loses. And then there's a pretty good scene of Ciri and Geralt together massacring Nilfgaardians. And that's that. So Ciri sucks. Everybody sucks. And don't worry, the character assassination isn't over yet because all the characters separate. Yennefer and Ciri go to this council of sister mages, and the sister mages are, we're going to sell Ciri into slavery where she can breed and fulfill the prophecy. And Yennefer's like, sure, I don't care. And Ciri's like, sure, I don't care. But can I go visit Geralt once? And the council goes, I don't see what's the problem with that. You won't run away or anything. It's not like you can teleport. So Yennefer and Ciri go to see Geralt in Rivia. And Geralt's in Rivia, and he said, hey, man, I got stabbed by a random peasant in a rebellion. And they go, what? He goes, yeah, a pitchfork. I am dying because of a pitchfork. And they go, seriously? And he goes, seriously, my heart has stopped beating. And Yennefer tries to save him, and Yennefer tries to save Ciri's father figure, who spent 3.5 books looking for Ciri. Yennefer tries to save Geralt, and while she is trying, it's not working, and Ciri yells at her mother figure in her face while her mother figure is trying to save her father figure. She yells at her and says, what good is your useless magic if it can't even save one stabbed man? And with that, that is the last thing Yennefer hears before passing out, because Ciri is an asshole. And then Ciri goes, fine, I'll do it myself. And she can't do anything though because she lost her magic, which I honestly maybe missed that. I don't know when she lost her magic, but she says, I wish I had my magic, but I don't. The unicorn shows up out of a fucking portal and goes, hey, do I need to be here right now for this plot point to exist? And Ciri goes, unicorn that exists right now for this plot point to exist. Can I have my magic back? And the unicorn goes, yeah, sure. And I'm like, wait, no. I don't know when she lost her magic, if it happened in the page at all, but it was definitely after the unicorn, because she did a ton of time traveling and magicking without the unicorn. Like, the unicorn left her for a while, and she did a bunch of time traveling without him. Why can he give it back if he wasn't there when it was taken? But whatever. The unicorn gives her magic back. Geralt is dead. Yennefer is unconscious. And she's like, well, I'm going to take him back into the portal. She takes him into the portal that the unicorn came from. And then Geralt and Yennefer wake up. They have no idea where they are. They're in a different dimension. Geralt is completely healed and Yennefer is fine. And Yennefer is like, oh, I don't think we'll ever see Ciri again. And Geralt's like, yeah, I know. And it cuts to Ciri. She's in King Arthur's land, like King Arthur from the Knights of the Round Table in our world. She's in King Arthur's land. And she goes, and that's my story. And then Sir Galahad's like, won't you miss them? And she goes, maybe. And then she fucks him. That's the end of the book. She's so broken up over her father and mother figure being left, and she may never see them again, that she fucks Sir Galahad like an hour later. I just hate it. So Geralt died to a random peasant. That was cool. Yennefer couldn't save her. And Ciri's last words to her mother figure were, you're useless and your magic is useless. Great. Cool books, guys. Cool books. I really wonder why I didn't enjoy them. I did not, in case you didn't gather that. I did not enjoy them. I acknowledge there was a lot of good writing. I acknowledge that. I also fucking hated it because these characters were completely assassinated. I liked Geralt before reading these books. When I play The Witcher 3 again, which I certainly will because it's a great game, I'm going to pretend I didn't read them because that Geralt sucks. When I run into Ciri in that game, I'm going to hate her for the normal reasons, but I'm not going to absolutely loathe her in my bones for being the worst character I've ever read about in my entire life. If I watch the Netflix show, because I think I got like halfway through season 2. If I watch more of the Netflix show, I'm going to pretend that it's a different Geralt and a different Ciri, because I am not referring back to these books. These books destroy these characters. If I didn't know these characters before reading these books, I would have been like, oh, this is an interesting world, a little bit too much sexual violence for my preference, but the characters are kind of weird and it's kooky. But like knowing the characters from other media, which I acknowledge this is the canon and the other media is deviating from that canon, but I, as a white American in 2025, I definitely prefer the cleaned up, bastardized American versions of these characters over the source material. That's just my take. If you don't like it, that's fine. Though I would challenge you to find any issue with my complaints in this video, because those events all happened. And the last thing I will say, if any of the people who liked these books hung around and they're now very mad at me, and for some reason you still haven't clicked off the video at this point, I will say, the more I've talked to people in my chat, it seems like there's some... You can't say all of my points are incorrect because of translation, but it seems like in the Polish text, some of this stuff was less egregious, but it still happened. And I still have issues with a lot of the events that happened, whether or not they were worded slightly differently. I don't know. If you listen to all this, I wouldn't read the books, personally. I wouldn't read them again. Now, I did say at the start, so I'll throw you this. I really am liking The Last Wish, which is a short story collection, and it's just Geralt hunting monsters, and he's extremely competent. That's very fun so far. I'm only 40 pages in, but it's lit right now. The mainline books about Ciri, asinine garbage. I would not recommend it. The world building's good. The war is good. The politics are good. The main characters are ass. They're just terrible. And the prophecy doesn't even happen. That's the extra fucked up part, is all 5 books, they're ranting and raving about the prophecy. And you know, if you've played The Witcher 3, that's where the prophecy comes true, and that happens after the books. So the mainline books end without the prophecy happening, and it's like 10:30 and I have to work in the morning, so I gotta get going here. But like, imagine The Lord of the Rings. Here's my final thing. You pick up Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, Return of the King. You pick up these 3 books, and you're reading through them, and you go, oh man, there's got to be cohesive plot here. Fellowship of the Ring. There are all these fucking rings, and one of them rules them all. I found the ring, and I'm going to put it on. I turned invisible, and an evil eye is coming after me. I have to go to the elves. Boom. All right, first book done. Great. You know how it goes. The Two Towers. I need to walk a really long way with the ring. Okay. You know that. Frodo's getting closer to the spot where he has to get the ring, but he's not there yet. Book 3, Return of the King. Aragorn fights a bunch of orcs at Minas Tirith. End of book. And you go, wait, what about the ring? Did the ring make it to... The ring was what this was all about, right? Like, the ring made it there. We've been obsessing about the ring. The ring made it to the mountain. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know. I guess in a video game later on, they'll actually deal with the ring. I don't know. Then why were we obsessing about the ring for the last 3 books if we weren't going to finish the ring thing? I don't know. The ring time traveled to King Arthur's universe and fucked Sir Galahad.